Hey guys, great to have you back. Once again, I'm going to update you on the next stimulus package and your most likely stimulus payment. What we do on this channel is I give you the top stimulus news stories from the last couple of days, and then I take those news stories and I update this chart. And as I update the chart, I change the percentages so you know what is the most likely stimulus payout that you're going to see. If you like that style and you want to be kept up to date like that every other day or so, consider subscribing to the channel. We keep it like this always, very simple and straightforward. So let's go ahead and get right into it. What are your top stimulus news stories from the last couple of days? There's only 2 of them, which means that stimulus news has been really light as of late. And the top stimulus news story number 2 isn't really even a news story. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some information and compile it together and tell you what I think the most likely stimulus bill is going to be in a very general way. In order for me to do that, I need to give you these stimulus numbers because these are the most important ones right now, the very large numbers that we need to know about. The first one is Nancy Pelosi's $3 trillion number. This is the one that's already written down on paper in the HEROES Act. That is a number that is set to go and already has all of the programs written in it. Then you have Mitch McConnell's $1 trillion number. Now, Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader. He's an important guy. He threw out this number as his plan for the next stimulus bill. And now, most recently, we have Peter Navarro's number, who is an economic advisor to Trump, very close to Trump. And though I say this is Peter Navarro's number, this is really Trump's number. And it is a $2 trillion number. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a green check mark next to Nancy Pelosi's $3 trillion number, not because I'm saying I approve of it per se, but because with that number and in that bill, you already have another direct payment to the American people. You will see $1,200 if that bill goes through. I'm going to go ahead and put an X mark next to Mitch McConnell's, not because I don't like it, but because it's almost certain that you will not see another direct payment if that $1 trillion number goes through. There's simply not enough room in there through the debate and the discussion to get another one-time stimulus payment through. And next to Peter Navarro's number / Trump's number, I'm going to put a little exclamation point there because you know what? There is enough wiggle room there. And with some debate and discussion, I think it is likely that they'll be able to get another major one-time stimulus payment to the American people. Now, if you had to ask me which one of these numbers is most likely to go through after all is said and done, I'm going to say it's going to be close to the $2 trillion number. This one seems reasonable. It's a compromise between the two sides, and it also fits with what they did in the last bill, which was the CARES Act, and our government always likes going with past precedent. So if we go with something close to a $2 trillion number, what do I think would be in it? Well, this is a reasonable and common sense conclusion if they go with that $2 trillion number. First, it's likely you're going to see $500 billion for state and local governments. In Nancy Pelosi's plan in the HEROES Act, there's $1 trillion slated for state and local governments. That is not going to work. The GOP leaders are not going to be okay with that, but I think they will compromise, especially in the light of recent issues, at a $500 billion number. Next, I think they're going to slate $500 billion for more aid to businesses, both small and large, and banks. And that aid is going to come in a variety of ways. So it's going to come through loans. It's also going to come through a number of programs. Then they're going to slate about $100 billion for hospitals and for testing. And last, and this is the big new one, manufacturing and infrastructure. Now, with Peter Navarro / Trump's new $2 trillion number, they want $1 trillion of that to go to manufacturing and infrastructure. But that is not going to happen. Even GOP Republican leaders are against that kind of number. But will there be some compromising within the ranks and with the Democrats to get that number at something like $250 billion? I think that's very likely. And then that leaves a very large portion of about $650 billion for stimulus to the American people. And I'm going to split that up into 2 different types of stimulus, which have been leading the way in my charts now for the last month or so, which is another direct payment to the American people in the form of a $1,200 payment, which is going to be about $350 to $400 billion in order to do that. And the reason for the range there is it could cost a little bit more money this go around. It is expanded a little bit in the HEROES Act, so more dependents are going going to get the money, and it's expanded for children as well. And then that leaves about 250 to 300 billion for targeted stimulus. And so this targeted stimulus is going to be targeted towards unemployment or hazard or heroes pay, or the new one which you've been hearing about is this $4,000 tax credit if you go out and travel in the United States of America. That is not a definite, but it could be included as the targeted stimulus. So in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, this is the most likely outcome right now, a near $2 trillion bill, and this is probably what's going to be involved in it. So hopefully this helps you guys out. If this changes, I will update you on any changes that I think are happening. Again, if you'd like to see that, consider subscribing to the channel. The next stimulus news story, which is our top stimulus news story, is the important dates you need to know about. Now, there's a little bit of a change here. So if you've heard me updating you on this before, just stick with me for a little bit, because the big change is this. I've been telling you that the jobs numbers are going to come out on Friday the 3rd. But actually, they're going to be coming out on Thursday the 2nd. And the reason is because this is the 4th of July weekend, so the numbers are going to be coming out a day early, which means you don't have to wait as long. But it also has another impact, because when they get these jobs numbers, the way they do it is they do it through surveys. And the surveys take an average of 10 to 16 days. In this case, they're only going to be surveying for 10 days, which is the extreme minimum amount, which means that a lot of people are going to be complaining about these numbers. Whether they're good or bad, there's going to be complaints because they're using the minimum amount of days to survey, but regardless, they're coming out on the 2nd. So put that down on your calendar. If you don't want to look at the jobs numbers when they come out, once again, subscribe to the channel. I will be looking at the jobs numbers, and I will update you on them and let you know how it's going to impact the next stimulus payment. The other dates you need to know about are between the 20th and the 31st of July. Between around the 20th to the 24th, the Senate is finally going to take up discussing and debating and then eventually passing this new bill. And then eventually the House is going to take it up, I think, between the 27th and the 30th, because I think they need to get something done before the boost to the unemployment runs out on the 31st. And I think the president's going to sign it right around the 31st. It is possible that this could go into August, though, but this is my best guess. So with these top two news stories, let me go ahead and update you on the chart. Is there any changes? There's a little bit of changes, but not much. The payout timeline, I'm going to keep the same. The number 5 contender, recurring stimulus payments, I'm going to keep the same. There's a 0.1% chance that that's going to happen. The number 4 contender, no stimulus, the idea that they're not going to give any stimulus to the American people, I'm putting this at a 0.1% now. It's almost certainly not going to happen. They are going to give more stimulus, so I'm lowering that. The number 3 contender, back to work stimulus, is going to stay the same at 5%. The number 2 contender, the one-time direct payment, I'm going to keep that at 55%. And the number 1 contender, which is the targeted stimulus payment, is still at the top, meaning it's the most likely type of stimulus they're going to offer to the American people. But you saw it in news story number 2. I do believe when they pass this package, it's going to be around a $2 trillion number. And I think it's going to include both targeted stimulus payments and another one-time direct $1,200 payment to the American people. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm wrong, but I'm going with all the data right now, and this is what I'm putting it at. As always, I hope you guys enjoy the information and you found it valuable. Once again, I've said it probably 3 times already, but if you'd like to subscribe, and leave the video a thumbs up and a like. That really helps out the channel, helps me out, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I will catch you next time.